Welcome to the Naked Truth Report with your host, truth warrior and mythbuster Kathleen Wells. The place where we distinguish fact from fiction, where data is used to drive points home, and where Kathleen takes the position that Democrats and black politicians have destroyed black America. Welcome to the Naked Truth Report. Now, your host, Kathleen Wells.
Welcome. Good evening. This is the Naked Truth Report. I'm so excited. Truth warriors and mythbusters. I'm your friendly truth warrior and mythbusters. Today is going to be a great show. I want to go to my guests. In fact, I have 3 guests today. That's a first. And in fact, they're in the studio. That's a first, too. Hey, always something surprising on the Naked Truth Report, correct? Always something surprising on the Naked Truth Report. But before I bring on my guests, before I go straight to my guests who are in studio, I want to say Happy Veterans Day to America, to veterans. And, you know, those who listen to my show know that my father fought in World War II. So Veterans Day is like a fantastic, it's an important thing to me. I think it's important. I think that knowing history is important. I always say that, and I've said this 1,000 times. If you don't know data, if you don't know history, you shouldn't really be opining on politics. Do you understand that? Does that make sense? It's important to know data and history to opine on politics. Does that make sense? Does that make sense? Another thing I want to mention before I bring on my guest is the fact that, let's see, this morning I watched C-SPAN and Donna Brazile was the guest. And she was also the guest on Tucker Carlson's show last week, or this week. Last week. And, you know, that book is very interesting. I haven't read the book, but I've heard excerpts from the Political article. And Donna Brazile wrote in her book, are the excerpts that were taken from her book in the Political article, indicated that the primary election was rigged. Those were the words, R-I-G-G-E-D, rigged. That was the word used by Donna Brazile in her book. Rigged. Now, when she goes on these live interviews, she sort of like backtracks or backpedals. You know, she doesn't want to say it was rigged. And it was rigged, that was her words, it was rigged because, why? There was an agreement, a memorandum of understanding between the Hillary campaign and between the Hillary campaign and the DNC that Hillary would loan the campaign a few $1 million, a lot of $1 million, because Barack Obama left the DNC broke. I think it was $24 million or something like that. And Hillary would loan the DNC some money in exchange for being in control of the DNC. This was like a year before she was nominated. So Donna Brazile even said in her interview that it was this type of arrangement, this type of agreement was unethical. Unethical. She said it's not illegal, but it's unethical. So Donna Brazile is on the lecture circuit pushing her book, and while she's saying this is an unethical because it was rigged, it's like sort of pushing Sanders and O'Malley to the side, sort of like gutting them, so to speak. It's like it's really cheating. It's unethical, right? So while she was going on the lecture circuit pushing this book, she's also saying, although it wasn't illegal, it's unethical, but nonetheless, I love Hillary. I love her. I wanted her to be the president. I pushed for her. Do you understand that? Is that not weird?
She doesn't want to die.
She doesn't want to die? Oh, my guest spoke. Do you understand? You know, I hadn't even introduced him yet. What I want to basically say is that is very weird. If something is unethical and you still love those people. She even had a chapter in her book titled Patsy the Slave. So she's saying that these folks in the Hillary campaign were unethical, treated her like Patsy the Slave, but she still loved them. Is that not bizarre? Is that not weird? My guest, Steve, said what?
She doesn't want to die, and yeah, that's weird.
That's weird. That's weird. Anyway, I'm going to, he's interrupted me, so I know you guys are waiting with bated breath to find out who my guests are. I have 3 guests today. three guests today. The first is Blaine. He's not on camera because he's sort of, how do I want to say, incognito? Is that the term I want to use? He's incognito. And he's a building inspector for the city of Los Angeles. Do you understand that? A building inspector for the city of Los Angeles. Then the other person that I have in studio is Steve Lamb. Steve Lamb is an architect, no, not an architect.
Building designer.
A building designer, thank you. I really appreciate you helping me along, you know. He's a building designer for Los Angeles, California. And then my third guest is Drexel Johnson, who is the founder and the president of the Young Black Contractors Association. Drexel, are you there? He's not there yet, but he's going to be there. He's going to be here. So anyway, what we're talking about today, folks, is that we're talking about the construction industry in the city of Los Angeles. We're talking about, are you there, Drexel? Oh, he's not there yet. He'll be here soon. Okay, he'll be here soon. But we have Blaine, the building inspector for Los Angeles, the city of Los Angeles. We have Steve Lamb, who is a building designer for Los Angeles, or in Los Angeles. And we have Drexel Johnson, who is the founder of the Young Black Contractors Association in Los Angeles, correct? So this is going to be a great show. We're going to focus on the construction industry. And why is it important to focus on the construction industry in Los Angeles? Why is it important to focus on the construction industry in Los Angeles? Because the liberals, the Democrats, told us forever that illegal immigrants do not work in the construction industry. Do you guys remember them? Do you remember hearing that from Democrats, from liberals? They said that, I can't even remember who said it. They said that illegal immigrants only work in the fields. In fact, that was one of Al Sharpton's ministers. He told me, you know, illegal immigrants only work in the fields. Do you understand that? So we're going to talk about the construction industry right here in Los Angeles.
Well, first of all, only 5% of the illegals actually work in the fields.
Oh, that's Steve. He says, you know, I haven't even introduced you. Yeah. Steve said only 5% of illegals work in the fields. But we're going to start with Blaine, who is the building inspector.
Yes, I'm giving you the insider view of what's actually happening on the construction sites.
Okay.
And these are supposedly jobs that no other Americans want to do. This is what we've been told. That's the reason for the unprecedented number of undocumented workers in the construction industry. I work on numerous jobs in a week. Some have up to 300 employees on site. 98% are Hispanic, and approximately, on a conservative level, 75% are undocumented workers.
Did you hear that, folks? Did you hear that, listeners? On a construction, I'm talking to a building inspector for the city of Los Angeles, and he says on a conservative level, 75% of the workers on a construction site are illegal aliens.
And these are jobs that no other Americans want to do.
But he's being facetious.
Yes. This is what we've been told.
That's what we've been told.
Yeah. That's the reason why they're here. That's the reason why we have the sanctuary status for them.
Because no one wants to do construction work. No one wants to do drywall. No one wants to do insulation, painting, fabricating. Tell me else.
Carpentry, electricians, plumbers, pipe fitters, steel workers. No Americans want to do these jobs.
No Americans
is what we've been told. Yet, as a child and as a young adult growing up, all people thought that these were some of the best jobs that you could get.
Well, they were. You know, back when we started, like back in '77 when I started, you know, the wage scale was actually higher than it is now. I mean, in numerical dollars, people were making more money than the guys who are on the job sites now. It's not that no Americans want to do these jobs, it's that nobody wants to do them for slave wages.
Exactly.
For subsistence wages.
That's the other problem. I've spoken to some of the contractors, the ones that are the superintendents and owners of these companies, and they've confided with me that they start their people out at $10.50 to $12 an hour. Now, 30 years ago, when I started in the business as a general contractor, I paid a minimum of $15 an hour for somebody that didn't know how to swing a hammer.
Yeah.
$15 an hour.
$15 an hour
Right.
was the minimum wage you would pay somebody entering into the construction business. We paid carpenters, a good framer would get $45 an hour. A great finish carpenter would get $65 or $75 an hour. Now those wages have been pushed down the most. Those wages are, you'd be lucky to get $24 an hour for a good finished carpenter. And on most of these new commercial jobs, the carpenters are getting paid piecework, so they can avoid paying overtime. They can avoid paying. They pay them as contractors, so they don't have to pay FICA. They don't have to pay SDI. They have to provide workers' compensation, but they're escaping all these taxes that we hear our politicians say that all this illegal or all this undocumented work is being taxed, and it's getting put back into the system. Taxes are being circumvented, and wages are being circumvented intentionally to save developers and contractors, the builders, millions of dollars a week and billions of dollars a year.
Mm-hmm. And, you know, before you and I came on the airplane, we were talking about actual numbers. Give me one of those figures you.
Well, what I did a little research, and I found that in the city of Los Angeles, this was a census number that was now a couple of years old. They estimated at 300,000 construction workers in the city of Los Angeles, in the Los Angeles area. Now, if we estimate that 75% of them are illegal, or let me say undocumented, that means that's 225,000. If we estimate that the savings per week or per hour is $5 per hour, that's $200 a week. That works out with 225,000 workers. Just at $5 an hour, that's $45 million a week in wages that are lost, and the tax that would have been put on top of that, the SDIs put on top of it, the FICA, all of that is also being avoided. You know, the taxation is being avoided. So there's no, the savings is huge.
And it's really 4 times the $5 an hour.
Absolutely, yeah. Because that's only based on wages that were given that were making 30 years ago.
Right.
Mm. So did my listeners understand that? That, in other words, the contractors or the developers are saving $45 million a week by hiring illegal aliens.
And those are numbers based on, the 300,000 was based in 2015. I read an article recently that this is the largest construction boom in Los Angeles since 1920. That means that 300,000 has ballooned, and the undocumented labor force has ballooned with that. So whatever the numbers are today, that could be double or triple.
Yeah, and you know, when you go to the job site, I mean, you don't see any Americans working, generally speaking. I mean, you don't see any African Americans, any white guys, any Asian guys. I mean, everybody's Latino on the job site.
In the 2 years that I've been back in Los Angeles working in the construction industry, I've seen 6 black construction workers. 2 of them were doing cleanup on a construction site. 1 was a framer, and 1 was an electrician, and the other 2 were in supervision. But that's it.
Pretty good. You know, I used to be on this thing called the Altadena Town Council, which was a representative body up in Altadena. And Altadena used to be primarily a black neighborhood. And we had a couple developments up there, and, you know, the developers kept coming through, oh, we're going to give folks jobs, we're going to give black people jobs, and they did. But like you mentioned, they gave them jobs sweeping up the job site, and those are jobs that really used to be done by high school kids after school, and now they're giving, you know, adult men those jobs as a big favor for, you know, 2-3 hours a day. And it was really weird because they kept saying, well, we can't find any qualified, you know, black contractors. And at that same time, the guys who I work with on my job sites, I do a lot of historic restoration, you know, most of them are black.
Yeah.
And they're some of, not the most average, they're some of the best, most highly skilled contractors and tradesmen in Southern California. You know, Erwin Dyson, my electrician, is just unbelievable. Roland Williams, the guy who does my concrete for me, he can match any 100-year-old concrete for color and texture.
But no, we don't even have, you don't have to say that, because, well, I mean, everyone with a brain realizes that black people are like people.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Last I checked.
Yeah, they're people. So it's not necessary to say that.
No, but what we keep hearing is that, you know, there are no qualified black contractors.
They've been saying that for hundreds of years.
And it's just totally untrue.
They've been saying that for hundreds of years, that that black, you know, and this is something that Frank Morris said when he was my first guest on the Naked Truth Report. We have always heard that blacks aren't qualified. You can't find them. But these are excuses. This has been going on for 100 years. This has been going on for 200 years. And I'm sick of it, right?
Right.
And something needs to be done. And the issue that I want to say is that our politicians do not represent black America.
No.
The Maxine Waters, the Al Sharpton, the Jesse Jackson, they do not represent our interests. And that's a problem. That Karen Bass, there's so much, and and this brings us back to Donna Brazile saying that the Hillary Clinton campaign was unethical. The lies, the untruths, the fabrications, things that are not true, the unethical, and this is why I wonder why black people continue to be with the Democratic Party, because they've been lied to for 5 decades. Okay, so when you say, when liberals say Trump is lying, I don't care. Democrats have lied for 5 decades at least to black Americans. Yeah. And we need to begin to understand that.
Yeah, there has to be a change here. There has to be some accountability for the people, the young Americans that are being ignored and pushed into other directions of work. They're putting them into community colleges with what is there to look forward to? Like a lot of people are coming out of college now and they can't find jobs.
But this is what Dr. Claude Anderson said. Black people, we've worked already. We've worked 150 years at least for free. We don't need jobs anymore. We need businesses where we hire our own. And this is why, because I'm sick of the same thing going on for 50 years, 100 years, 150 years. It's always the same tune. And this is why it is true. It's a race-based society. And it's been going on for 300 years, the same thing. There's always an excuse to keep blacks on the bottom.
Well, this is a new rehashed racism now. It's a racism against Americans, period. I mean, it's not, it hasn't, young Americans are losing the opportunity for good, skilled labor jobs.
Yeah.
Everywhere in this country now.
It's getting worse and worse, and this is why Trump was elected, because we cannot trust our politicians to have the best interest of Americans. That's the bottom line.
My friends who are Democrats can't hear that. I mean, it's got to be the Russians. It's got to be something. They just cannot accept that the reason that America voted for Trump, and not because most people who voted for him actually liked him, but because they were just so tired of being both talked down to, lectured, and lied to by people like Hillary Clinton, that they went, anybody but you.
Okay, Drexel, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Thank you.
How are you?
Hello, Drexel.
That's Drexel Johnson. I have Blaine and Steve here in the studio live, and now I have Drexel. We got him on the line. Drexel Johnson is the president and founder of the Young Black Contractors Association. Have you been listening to the show, or?
Bits and pieces. I had dropped my phone.
Oh.
But I heard some things I really appreciate hearing. I want to really give you guys a high five on that. Everything that you're saying I can relate to it. We've been beat down. We've been lied to. I mean, in this industry. And people go around and say that our organization is crazy and we're saying the wrong stuff and don't go against your own kind because we're all black. Am I supposed to be less reluctant to be in slavery because you're black holding me there?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's a double negative, man. And when you look at the whole concept of my people not working, it's our own fault, and we're going to change that. So there are a lot of people with a lot of complaints, a lot of people with a lot of issues that they have that they are trying to mention, but the problem is right now is getting resolution. And resolution ain't but one way. We're taking this thing to the president, and we're letting him know that we want to change right now, not after a while, because we have too much documented. And not just here in South Los Angeles, but throughout Milwaukee, Chicago,
mm-hmm.
St. Louis.
Every city.
Every city.
Orlando, Florida, every major city where there are black people, the same game is going on because a lot of the same contractors, developers, and builders and GCs are the same.
Yeah,
so
they're
the mentality
national.
carries across the country. Yeah,
They're
and they
national
don't get
companies.
too sense about what we're saying.
And this, and this has been going on forever and a day. See, this is what Dr. Claude Anderson, when he came on the show, tried to explain. Black people have always been relegated to the bottom.
Yeah.
And that's why we are a race-based society since day one. Nothing changes ever.
Because we constantly sit there and don't fight back. We're an organization that's going to fight back. We're going to fight back. We've done this thing before. We've done a pilot of it, so to speak. We've got about 100 brothers and sisters in the community and gave them a good union job for like 3 years. That worked. When that job was over with, they had nowhere else to go. With the boom that's here right now, we should have at least 5,000 people.
There should be 20 or 30%.
Yeah, absolutely.
Of every ethnic, diversity, representation on these jobs. It shouldn't be
one group,
all undocumented workers. It shouldn't be all Hispanic. It shouldn't be all white. It should be a mixture of our city, and that's what we need to work towards.
When we take our deal, when we take our issues to President Trump, there's no old civil rights marchers that can come or with their groups. We don't want them. There ain't not one church that's got over 50 members in it that can come. We're going to represent the grassroots. That's what we've been talking about.
So you don't want to get sold down the river.
And now, no, we're not going to get sold down the river. We're going to represent ourselves. What some of our leaders have done over the years, they talk bad about other people in the city. It should be held accountable for war crimes with what they've done to their own people.
To their own people.
They don't want you to make it.
Exactly. And this is another thing I want to say real quickly. It's like when Mayor Tom Bradley was the mayor of Los Angeles, he believed in that multiculturalism, diversity, the Rainbow Coalition, and all that stuff, right? And in City Hall, you had every group represented. Whites, black, Asians, Hispanics, everyone was represented in City Hall. As soon as Mayor Leo Villaraigosa got into office, it's all Latinos, okay? See, this is what I'm talking about.
That's a fact.
That's a fact. You cannot find a black man or many whites, but basically black people working in City Hall generally like you did when Mayor Tom Bradley was mayor. But it's I blame us. We're going to take it. I blame us. I blame my people. I blame my leaders because you cannot expect other groups to look out for you. You have to look out for yourself. That's called human nature. We're going to take a break. We'll be right back.
Are you a local business owner? Are you interested in increasing customer counts and store traffic or increasing traffic to your website? If you answered yes, then you need to advertise on the Naked Truth Report. For more information on how to become a sponsor, please reach out to RJ Beaton at 818-517-KRLA. That's 818-517-5752. Or email us at rj@krla870.com. That's rj@krla870.com. Kathleen Wells, the host of the Naked Truth Report, wants to hear from you. Just like our borders, the phone lines, well, they're wide open. Call in at 866-870-KRLA. That's 866-870-5752. 866-870-KRLA.
welcome to the Naked Truth Report. Hey, who do I have with me now? Truth Warrior Blaine and Truth Warrior Steve and Mythbuster Drexel Johnson. That's what we do on the Naked Truth Report. We lay it down, we tell the truth. Is that right, Blaine?
Absolutely.
Is that right, Steve?
Oh, yeah.
Is that right, Drexel? Are we laying it down? Are we telling the truth?
Oh, absolutely. We're telling the whole truth. Hey, I'm on this phone. I just want to say this before I get cut off, possibly. I want to say that this thing is so big. I really want you guys, I gave you my card. I want you guys to give me a call in a couple of days so we can put our team together and get this thing rolling the way it needs to roll. And I just want to say this thing is all the way up in Boeing. It's all the way up in Northrop Grumman. It's all the way up in Raytheon. It's all the defense contractors, not to mention Disney, LAX, and, oh, my God, Hollywood Park. It's ridiculously disrespected with blacks not working and with the undocumented worker.
That's right.
And I'm not against the undocumented worker, and I didn't vote for Donald Trump, but I didn't vote for Hillary either. I was sick of the badness. I voted for Obama, and I got whiteballed by black people. I didn't get blackballed. I got whiteballed by black people talking about I'm trying to hurt Obama if I say it's more blacks on food stamps, welfare, and unemployment than construction jobs. So that's what went down. And they did a little roughness on me, but you know what? I'm the rubber man. They got to do me more than one time. I'm gonna get right back up every time. I'm gonna do what I do for my family. I'm gonna do what I do for my people and my community. I'm the real thing. We're gonna tell it like it is, and that's why I.
Well, you have my support for sure.
Out there, putting it out there like you put it out there, because you ain't doing nothing but your job. You're doing it just the way it's supposed to be done. If black people had to do it, should have done this years ago, we wouldn't have this problem. We would not have this problem.
Right.
You can't tell the guy that's doing the stealing nothing.
Right.
Well,
right.
you know.
Steal.
Right. You're right. Because I spoke to Al Sharpton. I spoke to Karen Bass. I spoke to, what is her name? Sheila Jackson Lee. These politicians and these black talking heads and these Joanne Reeds and these Michael Eric Dyson, they don't want to hear it. All they do is talk about racism, the white man. No, it is black folks, black leaders who are destroying the black masses of people. It's Cornel West, Don Lemon, Charles Blow, Joanne Reed, Angela Rye. All these folks are destroying black America. Obama.
Did you hear what Roland Martin said?
Roland Martin
said on the last go around of Obama's term, black people did less than 3% of the contract, and it was over $300 million. Well, what happened was somebody had to get up and tell the Hispanics how much representation black people meant to the Democratic Party, and you know what they said? We don't care about that stuff in the past. So all of that the leapfrog that was allowed, every race that we're listed with right now as a minority was already in the classroom when we couldn't go to school with white folks in the South. And they're letting that get out of hand. They're letting it get all the way past the point of us doing right. But the first thing we got to do, sister, we got to catch these black-ass Negroes that got these big contracts that won't hire blacks. We got to step on them first. We got to get them first because they're the biggest problem. They're the biggest problem. They get in there and they murder mouth us. They won't let us do what we do as a company, and they get in there and just take my name and just make me out of a Nat Turner. And I'm the guy that helped them get across the bridge to get work.
They're no good.
That's what we're working with.
No good. You know, even Dr. Claude Anderson said on this show, black folks are worse off after 8 years of Obama. Let me tell you something, folks. People who haven't figured out that after 8 years of Obama, we are worse off, they have something missing upstairs, okay? They're disconnected from reality because it is so obvious. Donna Brazile, with her crazy butt, is telling people that the Democratic Party was rigged, and yet she still loves Hillary. Now, you know she's crazy if people are rigging a thing, unethical, and they're calling her, treating her like a slave. Patsy's a slave, and she still loves them.
A slave and a patsy, and she still loves them.
And she still, so something's wrong with her, okay? Yeah. Something is wrong with Donna Brazile. I put out a call for her to come on this show. I know she won't come on the Naked Truth Report, But anyway, hey.
Well, when you call me a super predator, you don't want my vote.
Ooh.
I'll just leave it at
Right
that.
on, brother.
Hello.
But you know what? The politics are so high, you guys. The politics are so high up there. We'll never meet the president. We'll never meet those type of people. But the thing of it is, you're supposed to know your senatorial people. You're supposed to know your assembly people. You're supposed to know your congressional people. These are the people that's out there that can help us. These are the people that should work with us.
Yeah,
now,
there should
with all being said, Congresswoman Maxine Waters, she's listened to me. She's done some things. She's helped out over the years. But we need more help. We need more people helping us. We need more people listening to us and understand that we deserve a right to eat on the dollars that we spend on taxes that fund the bills on these major projects.
Well, no, I don't.
Right.
Yeah. Hey, listen, Drexel, maybe Maxine Waters helped you in the past, but listen, this lady is talking about impeaching Trump. Trump is the only, but for Trump, we wouldn't even be talking about illegal aliens, okay? See, we need to wake up and realize and be more grateful and realize people, all these black men, and I'm going to say the men because women aren't working construction generally, and they're not leading the black masses generally. It is black men that have sold out black America, the leaders. That's why I don't even go for Martin Luther King anymore, because he put us on the Democratic plantation, and look where we are.
Well, he didn't know. I don't think he knew.
No, he didn't know.
If Malcolm X knew, Martin Luther King knew.
Malcolm was on a whole different level of radical than Martin.
But that's not radical to be for your own people. He was for the establishment. If Malcolm X knew, Martin Luther King knew, because they talked.
Yeah, they talked.
Okay, but anyway, do you guys feel like we have some phone calls? Should we take phone calls or keep talking?
I just want to say one thing.
Okay,
I think that this has to start with the developers and the large contracting companies. I think we need to start with them and push at them. Now, if we can push at them and get some notice, we might get somewhere with them. But I think that's where we got to start.
You know, Mr. Johnson said something that was very important. He said that when he does meet with the president, he's not taking anyone from a civil rights organization. He's not taking anyone from a church with over 50 people, because those folks just completely roll over. And these politicians roll over. You know, you get on a lot of these major development jobs, you get agreements where they're supposed to be hiring people from the community, and they just go and say, oh, golly, we can't find anyone. Poor us. We tried, sort of, kind of. And, you know, the politicians just go for it. They don't hold these people their feet to the fire. Now, you know, the developers don't work for us, but the politicians do. And they need to go. If they won't work for us, you know, we need to go. Yeah.
I mean, we've been here 1,000 times before. You know, this is not the first day at the rodeo.
Yeah.
You're so right. You're so right in saying that, because
it's not the first day. It's always been like this.
Go ahead.
It's just always been like this, and that's why I'm tired of talking about it. And that's why I love Trump, because he's non-establishment. And somehow we got to get to Trump, because he's about, we are Americans, okay? And he's about Americans having food on the table, period. That's the end of the story. We've got to get to Trump.
You know, I've got friends.
You know, these non-establishment people, this is why Trump won.
Right.
Because these non-establishment, these politicians, none of them are any good. This is why Steve Bannon is draining the swamp.
I wouldn't have been saying that 2 months ago, because there was a whole lot of stuff going on with the statues and whatnot. But as I look around, Nancy Pelosi was saying, cut his head off in so many words. Now she's saying, let's give him a chance. Dianne Feinstein was saying, let's get rid of him. He ain't no good. He's a this, he's a that. Now she's saying, oh, well, let's give him a chance. So I don't want to get caught up in the politics. I just want to get my guys on the ground and go to work.
Okay,
I'm trying to get with the president. I ain't trying to wait for the next president. We want to talk to this one right here.
We want to get young black Americans working.
He's going to try to put America back to work, and that includes black people too.
Absolutely.
We should be in there working. There's too much work for us not to be working.
Absolutely. I agree with you, Drexel. Drexel, I'm with you 100%.
We're all in this together. We got a phone call. Why don't we take the first phone call? Who is that? Hello? Line 1? Who is on line 1? Okay, let's go to line 2. Hi, Mark.
Yes, hi. I was just turning the channels on the radio. I caught your show. I've been listening for about 20 minutes, and I really admire and appreciate what you're saying. What I wanted to tell you, I happen to be a developer and properties in different parts of LA County, some out of the county, but I own in the city. And what I wanted to tell you, and this is not a disagreement of any of the points you're making, just some information for you. And I've had discussions with friends of mine just in general that have talked about this, and that is that when I hire a contractor to do work on my properties, if I was mindful that the contractor or their employees were not legal, I wouldn't want them on my property. And I have other friends who think similar because we want to do what's right.
Okay, that's fine, but we've got a building inspector here that knows different. You're maybe the exception.
No, I was saying I wasn't disagreeing, but the other thing I wanted to just mention to you is, to your point, I think if more is brought to the forefront regarding, black people who are either working for or own a construction company, I think that people like me are mindful of that. When the riots hit, I happen to have had 3 shopping centers that were burnt down. And I had received a call from someone from Danny Blakewell's office back then saying, we would appreciate very much in the rebuilding if you would work with black labor. And he said, well, what do you think? I said, sign me up. And I did as much as I could with it. So this is not a disagreement to your point.
But what is your point? What is your point?
Well, I think that you hit the nail on the head. I think that the more people become aware of what you're saying and some of the inequities that are going on, I think a lot of people like me would be sensitive to that and jump on board with you.
Okay, great. We appreciate it. That's fine. That's fantastic, Mike. Thank you. Okay, let's take call, let's see, line 3. Panel?
Hello?
Yeah, hello.
Hello, yes.
I'm listening. Yeah, I'm listening. Panel, Temple.
Okay. Hello?
Go to the next line, please. JP. Thank
Hi,
you.
how you doing?
Hi.
I want to make a point, and the gentleman mentioned, the one on the phone, about Villagosa. Garcetti is in on this, too. There's a development thing called now cookie cutter homes. I don't know if you're aware of this. Have any of you heard about this?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, well, there's a big project. I won't say the exact location, but it's in Santa Clarita.
Mm-hmm.
And let me tell you, there is not one black person, one white person. These houses are built with about 5 to 6 Hispanics. They move to the next house. They're 3 feet apart. Every 4th house is the same.
Yep.
And the thing is, they build them for $700,000. And what my complaint is not only Obama, and the gentleman mentioned on the phone is Villagosa, but Garcetti is part of this whole thing too.
Absolutely.
And he says that affordable housing is in the market. I do some part-time security work because I used to do construction in my background and everything. And there's a project at San Vicente in Fairfax, $6,000 to move in.
Right. I've been trying for 30 years to give away free architectural plans to granny units and try to get cities and the county to agree to use them. And my only condition was that they had to make them available to Section 8 tenants for the first 5 years. For 30 years, no one has even responded to that. But I've got to say, Catherine Barger, LA County Supervisor for the 5th District, last month I posed that to her, and she said that if I hand them to her office, she will take them and she will find someone in the county to work with me to get them pre-approved. But I mean, someone should have taken me up on that 30 years ago, but not Pasadena, not City of Los Angeles, not Glendale, not Alhambra. Mm. And, it's no accident that every form of affordable housing that's known architecturally, and they've been around for 100 years, every single one of them has been outlawed in the zoning code. And that's purposeful. It just can't be that they just happen to accidentally outlaw it all.
Right.
Well-
And yeah, the other thing that I want to say is that there are reports that say Black America will be at zero median wealth by 2053. Do you hear me? We've
I
been in
agree.
this country 400 years.
Yes.
I just told my listeners that my father fought in World War II. Okay, to come back and be called a boy. So all these people who say, "Oh no, there is this. This is not a colorblind society. This is a race-based society."
Mhm.
Face it.
Yes, I agree.
And to keep blacks at the bottom, even Frederick Douglass was talking about immigrants taking black folks' jobs. We've been in this country since the 1600s.
Kathleen,
Mhm.
the other issue here is that there are very few tradesmen that are black now because they haven't been recruited as young adults.
They've been locked out.
So you have very few. The ones that exist are great at what they do, but there's nobody to replace them.
No, because
Nobody's being drawn into this.
All the young black men went to prison. Bill Clinton put more black men in prison than any other president.
This is the problem with what's happening right now. Nobody's being recruited into this. You start out mixing concrete.
Right.
You start out cleaning. You start out dragging materials around, and from that point you learn. And you don't see any young apprentices out there, white or black or Asian or it's
Armenian.
It's all, you see no Americans out there anymore doing this. So nobody is there to replace this, to help fill this void of Americans in this job because they've been discouraged. You can't get a job in Los Angeles in the construction industry unless your father is in the business or your uncle is in the business.
And someone told me you have to speak Spanish now.
You do? Well, it's actually
unsafe.
It's unsafe for you to be on the job site now if you don't speak Spanish.
Can you imagine?
You know what I wanted to say about these rappers, these black rappers that talk all that gangster rap? Black rappers. The young black contractors build houses too. Y'all can hire some of us too.
Absolutely. And we need to get young black people recruited into the early stages of construction where they start learning from the ground up.
Yeah, but young black rappers, they don't have the consciousness to do that. Okay? They're not politically sophisticated. They're not aware. Or their rap music wouldn't be all B word and N word, okay? If they had any sense.
Yeah, well, that's some truth to that too. But if they knew the kind of money that was not just in having us bills for them, but if they knew the kind of money that was in this industry overall, they would get an action arm to be a part of it. Trust me.
Yeah, well,
I don't know. Listen, black rappers have been around for 10, 20, 30 years. And you mean to tell me their ear has never been bent about the construction industry?
No.
Hello, come on. So, we have to stop making excuses for these people.
Well, there's no excuse for young Americans to not be brought into into the construction industry, and this has to be made. The developers that are hiring contractors need to voice this and say we need to get more people in here and have this more diverse workforce.
There have been excuse after excuse after excuse. That's the way I see it.
Well,
hey, look, you guys, I gotta run right now, but
all right,
you got my card. Give me a call.
Absolutely.
Because we want to sit down with some local people before we take this thing all the way to D.C. But we will go. We are going to go.
Okay.
We're going to go to D.C.
All right.
Having me on, and we'll be in touch.
Okay, thank you, Drexel. That's Drexel Johnson, who is the Young Black Contractors Association. And in fact, last week I interviewed. We're gonna do another show next week on the same subject because it's important. Drexel's had people out there picketing in front of protesting in front of where the NFL, there's a new NFL stadium being built in Los Angeles, folks, in Inglewood.
Inglewood?
In Inglewood on Century Boulevard. And
primarily an African-American city?
an African American city, traditionally.
Yeah.
Not anymore.
Oh.
But for decades, Inglewood was a traditionally black, don't say African American, I hate that, black American city for decades. Now they got all Latinos out there working, no black men working to build the new stadium in Inglewood, a traditionally black neighborhood.
How does that work?
I mean, the thing, and so anyway, Drexel had some folks protesting out there. The stadium is on Century Boulevard, Inglewood. Mm-hmm. You know, it's just disgusting what has happened. I'm a native Los Angelino.
Kathleen, it's every construction site in the city. It's not just that. It's every one of them are void of Americans, you know, brought in as a young apprentices. There's a big turnover when they're, you know, when you're young.
Yeah.
You smash your finger and you say, hey, this isn't for me. I want to be a mechanic instead, or I want to work in an office instead. But the thing is, there's so many young people that have the aptitude to be great finished carpenters, to be electricians, it's a skill, and not everybody is going to want to be an accountant. I never wanted to be an accountant.
God, no.
I wanted to be an electrician or a plumber, and that, you know, there was nothing wrong with that. I mean, I didn't, you know, now I'm an inspector, but the thing is, you start somewhere, and I wanted to be a plumber because they made good money.
Yeah.
And they moved out of the bad part of the city into the good part of the city.
That's right.
You know, all my friends' fathers who were plumbers or electricians or carpenters, they moved out of the bad part of the city.
And the plumbers were making $100,000 a year like 30 years ago.
Yeah.
They're not making that now.
Do you understand that, folks? So anyway, we had Drexel Johnson, who's with the Young Black Contractors Association. We have Blaine, who is a building inspector for Los Angeles. And what did he tell us? He told us that conservatively, 75% of the workers on all jobs in Los Angeles are illegal aliens. Do you hear that out there, Los Angelinos? Democrats have lied to you from day one. Liberals have destroyed black America.
This is a lost industry. The construction industry is a lost industry for Americans.
It's a lost industry. This is a building inspector who goes around to the various sites and sees what's out there. Do you hear that, folks?
You know, one of the
illegal aliens have taken over the workforce. How many times have the Democrat told Americans, oh, they do jobs that Americans don't want to have? So you're telling me black men don't want to work in construction? This is what do I want to say? It is what?
Crazy?
It's crazy.
Well, it's untrue, too. I mean,
it's untrue.
I know young black men who work in construction, who want to work in construction. I know black men who are contractors who have crews that are mostly black. It's just not true. But the other thing is the Democratic Party has been training people. They've been telling people for 30 years that these jobs are beneath you, that you have to go to college, that college is the only way to success.
No.
You know, those kids who go to college who come out of there with $100,000 in debt, and they're going to go to a job where they get to make $30,000 a year.
Well, let me tell you, doing Jim Crow, and I said this data, I'm a data girl. If you don't know the stats, if you don't know the data, if you don't know the history, you should not be opining on politics. Back during Jim Crow, 87% of our families were two-parent families, and we had 40% of our businesses. Black men were doing construction. They were building. They had their own businesses during Jim Crow. So this is why integration, listen, with social integration and civil rights, black people are they're worse off than during Jim Crow. And that's the truth. Do you hear what I'm saying? That's the truth. So we've got 1 minute left. Let me.
Yeah.
You know, you touched on something that I hope if I come back someday I can talk about. The Democrats have been doing urban renewal, and one of the ways that they've destroyed black businesses and black families throughout America is doing urban renewal. And like in Pasadena, near where I live, they had a thriving black business community, and they decided they were going to renew it. And they literally drove all those black businesses out of town and put in an instant ghetto.
Instant ghetto. Okay. You know, we're gonna next week. Hey, join us next week on the Naked Truth Report. I'm going to have these same three guys here talk, the building inspector, the architect, and the Young Black Contractors Association. Don't forget to go to the Naked Truth Report YouTube channel and subscribe, please. I appreciate it. And we'll be back next week with these same three guys talking about how Los Angeles is just a fraudulent city, okay? Thank you.
The Naked Truth Report was sponsored by Kathleen Wells on AM 870, The Answer.